Hello, people of the world watching new vehicle reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road. With the available 6-speed manual transmission, the one feature I feel the new Nissan Frontier was lacking from making it the ultimate holy grail mid-size pickup truck. So today, I'm gonna see if it does make the difference. This Tacoma's tow capacity is 6,400 pounds, which is a little less than the Pro 4X Frontier, which was 66 and change. Stainless steel, single exit exhaust, pretty big diameter too. Kind of wild, the frame rail comes right to the edge of the back bumper. Off-road package with a temporary use truck donut for a spare. Mounted on a Steely though. Out back, the TRD Taco utilizes a 5-link multi-link rear suspension with solid rear axle. In the Frontier, you get a Dana 60 rear axle. On the Taco, it is proprietary, sourced from Hino Motors, Toyota's HD division trucking company. And this one has a 430 final drive ratio with the electronic rear locker since it is the manual. Also a huge advantage is these monotube remote reservoir red body Bilstein rear shocks. Rear anti-sway bar mounted to the front of the axle measures in at approximately 23 millimeter in diameter. On these 4th generation Toyota Tacomas, selecting the available 6-speed manual transmission not only reduces the price by $1,100, it also reduces the weight of the truck. On this TRD off-road double cab premium package, it weighs in at 4,650 pounds, about 100 pounds lighter than the automatic transmission. As far as transmission goes, well, yes, you can get this with an 8-speed auto. This one is equipped with the Aijin RC60F high torque 6-speed manual transmission with the IMT2 auto rev match feature that you can enable or disable whenever you want, and it has a maximum torque input rating of 550 newton meters or 406 pound-feet. With the manual transmission, there is noticeably different engine calibration. I'll get to that in a little bit, but as far as a 4-wheel-drive system is concerned, it is a part-time 2-speed transfer case with a 2.57-to-1 ratio in low range. The plastic fuel tank, protected by a plastic skid plate. Now this is different. On the manual, the automatics have a 1-piece aluminum drive shaft, where the stick trucks have a 2-piece steel one, little hoop protecting the U-joint, single stainless muffler manufactured in-house by Toyota, and the exhaust mid-pipe, which is all stainless in construction, measures in at approximately 65 millimeter in diameter, or a little more than 2.5-inch SAE. I don't know why, but I feel like the ease of maintenance is even better with the manual. It just looks like there's more room in here. Oh, the starter is mounted to the side of the bell housing. I thought it was, say what you will about it being an inline 4 versus a V6, but there's a way more room on this in this engine bay than there was in the V6, 2GR and 1GR models. Same thing with the driver's side. That is great. Like, I could probably shove this huge flashlight. Yeah, look at that. Oh, you can actually access the back of the cylinder head from down here. Interesting. On the Taco, you get an electric assist power steering rack mounted to the crossmember. On the Frontier, it's still a simple old school hydraulic unit. Up front, you get an all steel in construction double wishbone front suspension with aluminum front knuckles. Frontier was cast iron. And that is the optional front anti-sway bar disconnect feature. That front anti-sway bar measures in at approximately 33 and change millimeter diameter. And again, paired with those remote reservoir monotube coilover Bilstein dampers. Pro 4X gave you double steel front skid plates, whereas this, you get some composite fiberglass plastic stuff on an off-road model. All right, time for the braking test. Nothing behind me. Ready, set, go. Okay. Very swoopy. Noticeable amount of ABS feedback, and stopping distance maybe a smidge longer than average was expecting for. This video is sponsored by me. my very own car detailing product company, RoboBubble, made in USA. And if you'd like to use what I use to keep my cars clean and also support this channel, this is how you can on my website, sarahandtune.com. Thanks. That braking was just made possible thanks to a set of 4-piston Advix front calipers with a 340mm or 13.4-inch front rotor. The wheels, they are a 17 by 7.5 with a positive 55mm offset TRD alloy wrapped in a set of 33-inch BF Goodrich all-terrain TA tires. Hairy carpet inner fender liners. Take note, all the mud stuck to it still. And ride height, you get about 2 fists width or about 11 inches of ground clearance. Functional vent, non-functional vent. LED fogs, trail cam. It just looks naked without that signature silver skid plate with the red TRD logo that is synonymous to these trucks. Got that nice thick durable texture chip guard underneath the base and clear all along the rockers. On top of that, the leading edge side of the bed has a clear bra and this little plastic trim piece. In the rear, plastic inner fender liner. Notice how much cleaner it is. Spare tire placement definitely hinders your departure angle. Because of the people that review cars for a living that complain too much, the 4th generation Tacoma now has a disc brake out back rather than a drum brake. It is a 310mm or 12.2-inch rotor with a single piston caliper. The hybrids actually get an even bigger back brake. Wheel and tire, same size as you have up front. In the name of the science, it is now time to give it the beans. But first, assessment of bolstering capabilities. This loaded taco has got some black leather seats. It's got a Tetris pattern that disappears inside the perforations depending on the angle you look at it from. Since this one is fully loaded with a premium package, you have heated as well as ventilated seats. The steering wheel is also heated. As far as drive modes go, just like the automatic, I have a dial in the center. I can rotate, go from eco to normal to sport. As someone that owns a new Bronco with a 7-speed manual in it, I have to say Toyota did a better job with the shifter feel in the Taco. I actually like the way this feels. This right here is for the auto rev match downshifting to disable or enable it. I wish it also controlled your anti-stall feature so you could disable or enable that if you want. To the left of the steering wheel, I have a button I can press to turn off traction control. You can press it to turn off traction control or press and hold it to further turn off and defeat stability and traction control. Question is, can I lock my rear diff in 2-wheel drive? No, I cannot. This also has a feature built in called anti-stall, which I have not figured out a way to defeat it, unfortunately. I don't think you can. What that does is makes it essentially idiot-proof, so even if you don't know how to drive a manual, you could still drive this thing. It won't stall, uses the auto stop-start technology, but unfortunately, it limits you from revving the engine freely in neutral. And then it has massive rev hang to make it easier to drive a manual. All right, with that said, give this thing a kind of a launch and see what it'll do. Ready? A little bit of a chirp, and first gear is over. First gear ends so quickly in this thing. And it's hard to shift aggressively. You can feel a little bit of traction management kicking in and it bogs it a little bit. Still more fun than the auto though. Hood pop. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road is the T24 Alpha-FTS, which is a 2.4-liter dual overhead cam, single turbocharged all aluminum 4-cylinder that produces 270 horsepower at 5,400 RPM and 310 pound-feet of torque at 2,800 RPM. Despite what it looks like on camera, in person, this engine doesn't look that crammed in this engine bay. There's quite a bit of room on either side of it for ease of maintenance. You'll notice the engine almost sits directly behind the front axle line, making it almost front midship. As I mentioned earlier, obviously the manual transmission version is going to have a different ECU tune than the automatic transmission version, but what's most notably different is the fact that this has a reduced engine RPM redline versus the automatic. Subsequently, also, that reduces the peak horsepower output since that was achieved at a higher RPM than what the Redline is now on the manual transmission version. The torque also comes in a little bit later in the power band and is slightly reduced than the automatic. But it's a well-known fact, automatic transmissions typically have a greater parasitic loss throughout the drivetrain than a manual transmission. So whereas this might make less horsepower and torque on paper, there's a good possibility it actually makes more at the wheels than the automatic transmission version. Only way to find out would be with a dyno, and they were extinct 65 million years ago. Electric cooling fan rather than an engine-driven clutch fan. Alternator up top, easy to get to. Plastic valve cover. It is a timing chain-driven engine with a separate chain down below for the oil pump. Inside this spaghetti pile is a plastic intake manifold. Throttle body is downward facing. Just in front of the radiator is an air-to-air front mount intercooler. Digging a little bit deeper on this 2393cc turbo 4-banger, it is undersquared at an 87.5 by 99.5 millimeter bore stroke with an 11:1 compression ratio. Does have an aluminum block but with fused cast iron liners. It is a forged steel crankshaft, forged steel connecting rods, and cast aluminum pistons. Moving up to the cylinder heads, it does have Toyota's VVT-i on both intake and exhaust cams, as well as the twin scroll turbocharger is bolted directly to the cylinder head, integrated into the head itself. It does have Toyota's D4ST, both port and direct fuel injection, which has a lot to do with the engine sounds that this thing makes. It is a very loud direct injection system. It's sporadic in nature audibly, and it causes some people to not understand what's happening with their engine and wonder what they're hearing. That's why they usually put foam engine covers over the top of them to make it quieter. Traditional vacuum brake booster, clutch master cylinder tucked in the corner. See what this thing can do. It is now time for Rally Special Stage 2.0. We're gonna put this thing into sport mode. I'll run it in 4 high. To engage 4-wheel drive, there's this little slice under the drive mode. You press the side and you can rotate it. I didn't really like this at first. It felt kind of cheap and flimsy, but I'm getting used to it. Roll forward and backwards a little bit. There we go. Now this does not have the multi-terrain select feature because it is not an automatic transmission. You are the multi-terrain select feature. You are the robot. Traction control is defeated. It gives you a dummy light. In addition to that, there's constantly a little thing in the center of your tachometer that says traction control turned off. You can clear it and it comes right back all the time. So it's a bit excessive, Toyota. All right, let's see what this thing can do. Ready? What? It wouldn't let me spin them in 4 high. You know what? I feel like the gearing makes more sense off-road already. This is nice, actually. Oh yeah. This is a really rough section I just went through too. That's excellent. Yeah, this thing is an absolute treat off-road. Second gear, it's just a second gear champ. I can do the whole thing pretty much in second gear. This thing is quick. Oh, way, way, way more fun off-road than this thing is on-road already. Let me get a little bit tail happy right there. The robots didn't intervene. It's so weird. I figured they would have. Man, this is no joke. Yeah, again, a little bit tail happy, squealing the tires on the dirt. Weird. Keeping it in second gear still. Boost comes back on. Good torque. Man, this thing, it's super quick to react off-road too. Really good. I mean, a lot has to do with the tires, but very predictable. And come on, man, you could lay down a fast lap with this thing. I have done the entire lap in second gear. Yeah, this is all right. The transmission choice of using the gearbox from the diesel Hilux makes sense now with the gearing off-road and across the line. Yep, that's good. That was a fast lap. Okay, on-road the RC62 gear ratios are a little bit better, I feel. the RC60 just first and second's kind of strange, but off-road it makes a lot more sense. I'm gonna disconnect my stabby bar. It wouldn't be a Toyota without the classic clutch start cancel feature. Glad they kept that. Disconnected. I'm gonna see, well, you're gonna see on camera if it actually makes a difference going over this section right here, which is pretty rough. Oh, I already feel a difference. I came over it that way without that disconnected. Yeah. Stabby bar connecting. Run it again. And yeah. I'm glad they made that an option. It should be available on the SR 4x4 though. It is now time for the hill climb test. As far as drive modes go, I have it in 4 high. I think this is just like the Frontier now though, where you can't use the rear diff locker unless you're in 4 low. I don't know why manufacturers started doing this. Go up the more aggressive side of this. Super low in first gear. That's awesome. Oh, the manual is where it's at off-road. Tank mode. Yup. I think I just barely might have scraped a little bit right there. I do have 11 inches of ground clearance, but now this doesn't have the crawl gear like you get in the 7-speed and the Bronco, which I absolutely love. And I think that's why they went with this transmission, because of the first gear gearing. It's kind of trying to mimic that without having to develop a completely different transmission like Ford did. Sounds like a casino. As far as hill descent control goes, you are the hill descent control. That's why I love a manual off-road proper. Gonna make sure I don't scrape right here. Good. Go down the more aggressive side of this. Yeah. Yup. Now the manual makes a lot of sense in the Taco. I wanted to criticize this thing at first after my on-road driving experience because all the robot nannies trying to make the experience of driving a manual transmission easier, and I don't think that should be a thing. I think you should require skill to operate a manual transmission. But off-road, that just kind of all went away. Like, I thoroughly enjoy driving this thing off-road. The double cab has more than enough legroom for a full-size adult. It's really weird that there is no armrest in the back of these. Guess you'll have to just lean on the person next to you. AC power inverter, 2 USB-Cs. This one has a sunroof. As far as the infotainment screen is concerned, there's a vehicle interior attached to the sides of it. It's absolutely enormous. And honestly, I think the lower trim grade screen matches the interior a little bit better than this giant big screen TV does. The JBL sound system does not disappoint. The removable boombox from the dashboard's a bit excessive, but also neat. For $9,000, the premium package turns this into flat out a luxury midsize pickup. This one has dual zone climate control. Your temperature displays inside the dial. Big fan of the wireless phone charger location. It's vertical in front of the shifter, a little rubber thing to keep it from falling over. In case your bed's fully loaded, this little dial allows you to adjust your headlight height so you don't blind oncoming traffic. A nice grippy oh-shit handle for the passenger. Much like the Frontier, the Taco has a touch of Temu in the interior with a badge stuck onto the dashboard. I think this is one of the few things that says TRD on this truck other than the stickers out back. Oh yeah, matching TRD off-road floor mats. Oh, the parking brake actually just decided it would turn off for me trying to take off. That's the first time since I had this thing. That was the one complaint I had about this Taco, is the electronic parking brake is infuriating at times because it's not intuitive. It just forces you to reach down and push the button or pull the button or push or pull, I forget, 90% of the time, instead of just being a nice simple cable mechanical rip it e-brake, or like it used to be under the dash where you pull it out. The other complaint I have is the lack of options when it comes to configurability for cab and transmission. And that is the biggest shortcoming with this truck, because they are missing out on a lot of potential buyers by not offering the manual transmission on the SR5 trim as well as the extra cab. You can only get the manual with the double cab. That, in my mind, would be the holy grail for one of these trucks, an SR5 manual transmission extra cab in black. It'd literally be a modern day Back to the Future truck. And I feel a lot of diehard Toyota truck enthusiasts feel the same way, not having that configurability on those lower trim grades. The other criticism that this truck gets is for this extremely high price compared to past generations of Tacoma. And I'm not here to talk about economics because I suck at math, but it is expensive. And also the fact that dealerships usually only carry in inventory the loaded up higher trim grades, which exasperates the problem and makes it seem like these trucks are even more unaffordable. But you still can get an SR with a manual transmission and four-wheel drive under $40,000. As far as fuel economy goes, you do take a little bit of a hit with the manual transmission on paper. Again, with a manual, it's all how you drive it, but the fact that this has a 430 final drive ratio might have a little bit something to do with it. They do offer a wide variety of colors on the Taco, which is a huge plus. I'm glad they at least do that. And I cannot praise them enough for at least still offering a manual transmission. Even if there's little faults that I can find with it, I'm still super thankful that it is at least available when most of the competitors are completely abandoning it. It is now time to give this Taco some scores, starting with the bean score, the assessment of feeling you get in your gut when you give it the beans. And it's getting a rating of, followed by the cookie score, the assessment of value, and where the TRD off-road starts at 42 grand. But this one with the premium package and a couple other options added to it, bringing it to a grand total of $53,000, it gets a rating of, when you add a bunch of tech features to the Taco, yes, it gets fairly expensive, but you don't have to add all those options to the truck. Next is the wrench score, the assessment of ease of maintenance, and with the manual transmission, it gets a rating of. Next is the meatball score, the assessment of off-road capabilities, and the Taco is getting a rating of. And lastly is the Penguin score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle. And the 4th gen Taco with a manual transmission gets a rating of. The thing that really I didn't like is all the tech features. That anti-stall feature really takes away from a lot of the enjoyment of driving a manual for me. I'd still have this over an automatic version of the Taco, and I would still go for a base model Taco with the stick, the SR. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll see you soon with another. Bye.